Hi guys, good morning. This is mock June 21. Willow. Let's start with the first five questions, right? I just saw this picture. I put Willow in and it gave me this Microsoft Microsoft PowerPoint did this, so it wasn't any of my creativity at all. Um, what are the key points before we jump into the question? We're talking about a company that is listed. They have been an audit client for 8 years. You have this lady here who will cause some drama, Bethan Oak. She's managed the audit for 7 years, and she claims that she wants to be rotating, but is still very much involved. They have made her the new. So the point about these kind of questions is you could see this in a long case, this idea in terms of audit risks, where you have the same um, sort of audit ethical risks, where you have someone having left as a normal work manager and becoming the EC audit partner, and now becoming the engagement quality control review partner. The business also want her to attend meetings for whatever reasons, actually totally irrelevant. You can't do that. Doesn't really matter why you're attending. It's just against all independence. Every reason in the book: familiarity, independence, advocacy. There's just threats everywhere with that. This is here wanting again to be part of their management process, and so that's just not allowed in any capacity. Um, Simple. There was an issue of fees, and now this might show itself. Typically, it's 50. If you're a listed business and you are, if you have a client that's listed and you're doing, and if 15% of your total revenue is coming on an average of 15% over 2 years, then there is an issue. You then need a. There is no rule that says you need to not do it. It just says you need a real rigorous approach to assessing whether or not you are truly independent. So, I mean, all listed companies need engagement quality control review partners anyway, but it's necessary that the those charged with governance are addressing this issue here. This year, it says that it's even going to be a greater percentage of our revenue, so we are definitely going to be in that threshold of needing to address the issue. Although in the questions, I don't remember them picking up much on this. There have been outstanding payments for the last 3 years, so this is beginning to look like a loan. Um, an audit manager will be leaving. So what's interesting here is it says will be leaving. So the risk here is that you have an audit manager who's currently on a job, forgive me, the job. So this question can really feature slightly differently. It could be the fact that the audit manager has left or something along those lines. So the manager will be currently on the job. So I suppose one of the bigger issues here is take him off the job, because why? It's absurd. He can't be objective in going to the client that he will be joining, and in the meantime, looking at the work, he will have blue eyes, um, if you like, or or is it rose tinted, or he won't be honest when he's looking at the work. I said blue eyes, right? Let's go. Let's carry on with the question. Here are the questions. So hopefully, of course, you've read the question. This was a straight technical point, actually. So I wouldn't knock myself if you missed it, but at least now you can review. The ACA and the recommendations are 5 years. So if you've done 7 years, then you have 5 years cooling off. Then you can do another 7 years. There is something else though. You have 7 years, and then there's a 1 year extension for really extenuating circumstances, and then you can do the 5 years. So this is a technical point, and I think it's a good point. We're seeing it here. Um, of course, the threat is one of familiarity. It was really one there. So I imagine maybe you were struggling between B and C. Um, that's the point there. Which threat will arise um, here with the recruitment? Um, it's an interesting one. Hopefully, you can sort of see why this is a self-interest threat here. We want to retain the client. Um, it's the recruitment of a non-exec. So, in terms of self-review, we're not quite reviewing our work. There's no intimidation. We're not really advocacy tends to when we're representing the client, say outside in court, something along those lines. So really, the best answer here was self-interest. You want to maintain this relationship. You want to hold on to this client. You don't want them to go. So that's what discounts those others. No one's intimidating you quite yet. Um, if you like, it's none. That your best answer is A. Right. Um, So, what are the issues here? What is true? If she does attend, it will be perceived as yes, assuming management responsibilities. And again, like I said, there's an issue of a self-interest threat here. So 1 and 2 worked straight away. I couldn't see anything in no other combination with 1 and 2. She can't attend meetings just because that's just not, and she can attend meetings, but not no, they're one and the same thing. So these make no sense. Um, you're just exposing yourself. We need independence. So 1 and 2 work. 1 and 2 work. So the answer here is D. And then number 4, which of the following are true in respect of this fee. Um, no, this is not a contingency fee. Is where someone says to you that if you don't do our audit, we won't. If you don't give us a clean audit, or if you don't give us an unmodified opinion, we will withhold funding. That's not what's happening here. They've just refused to. There's just a 3-month delay. Significant fees will tend to start to make you want to give a favorable audit so you can get paid. That is true. And outstanding fees may be perceived as a loan to the client. Technically, it is a loan. Technically, trade receivables, if you like. So there you are. These are not advocacy threats, certainly not. And you should be, significant fees should be discussed with those charged with government. They wanted 3, so I got their 3. There is no quite, there is no amount that in itself works perfectly. Also, 3 months. No. So the answer here would be C and E. B, C, and E. So what are the issues when you have this audit manager who's still on the job, doing the work of Willow, if you like? So the current threats ultimately here is the number of threats actually. So there's a self-interest threat. This audit manager has a self-interest threat. We almost technically have a self-interest threat because we want him to get there. It's just this familiarity threat ultimately, really, that if we're not careful, we will know the main man in Willow now. So we're always going to have this job. After all, we trained the audit manager. So there's a familiarity threat. There's a familiarity threat. Now, the problem with self-review, let me explain, um, is where you have a scenario where you are looking at your own work. Now, we don't quite have that problem right now. That's why self-review just doesn't work. I'm trying to think of the scenario where self-review, I suppose there's a number, especially with this sort of client relationship where you have someone from Willow who comes to join us, and then they join the audit team, and then they're looking at their own work. So there might be self-review there, but that's not what we quite have here. So hopefully you can sort of see that. And advocacy, no, no, no. So I struggled a little with intimidation because, um, I mean, it wasn't big for me. I just felt because they wanted 3. In my experience, I don't think I'd quite seen anything like intimidation in these scenarios. But I can see an argument that the audit manager could sort of either make people do what he wants, or when the audit manager arrives here, he could refuse to give work. I think it's one of the weaker ones. Personally, I don't think it's the best one. But definitely self-interest and familiarity are definitely issues to pick up on there. But I wouldn't, again, A, C, and E. These are objective questions. They're 2 marks. Yes, if you get it, that's wonderful. If you don't, there's more marks in the written to get. So don't let that, if you like, give you much ado. Okay, great stuff.